Okay, everybody, let's see how this looks. I'm trying to switch it over now into this. Okay, everybody, let's see how this looks. Why do I have music still playing? Over now into this. This is kind of obnoxious. Why do I have music still over now into this? This is kind of obnoxious. Kind of weird. There we go. I think that should get rid of most of it. Or should get rid of all of it. There, can you hear me? That should get rid of most of it. Yay! Sorry, using my telephone to check the stream because I'm not entirely sure how it's going to sound. I have it looks like it's turned down a little bit. It's supposed to be a little higher than that. That's kind of annoying. So, welcome. My name's Kevin Rank. I run MakerFun3D.com. I've got a new 3D printer to fire up today. Actually, I'm going to bring up chat in case anybody comes into chat while I'm here. So I've got a let's see, sorry. I've got this brand new printer here to check out. It comes to me from GearBest. Again, thank you to GearBest for sending this out. Excuse me. To me. This is my unboxing. It's a Alfawise U30. It's basically the Alfawise version of. I guess I'll talk here. This is the Alfawise version of the Ender 3. I'm actually really excited to put this up against my Ender 3. See how they go. If it's anything like my U20, I can use my existing profiles that are already well tuned, and it should work just fine. Oh, before I get started, check this out. This is a new Kickstarter. I did here. This is a new Kickstarter that'll be coming out. I just literally pulled it off the printer when I got up here. It's basically it's a lot like the ruins from Lord of the Rings. I don't know if you've ever played War in Mordor, but these look just remind me exactly of those buildings. They don't look exactly like them. I've actually compared them, but they're dang close, and they look really good. Expect the Kickstarter to come out. I think it's actually might be a couple months away still. He's doing some really cool stuff with it, and it's actually, the modeler is Lovecraft, so it's going to be beautifully modeled. And this is, some commission work from him for a new Kickstarter for a guy that wants to create something new and special. I'm really liking this. This is the very first thing off the bed. He sent me a few files yesterday to check out so I can get them printed. So check that out. So again, this is my Alfawise U30 preview. I'm going to be unboxing it, putting it together, and we're going to see how it is. Hey, welcome, Valandar. Haven't seen you on here before. Glad to see you here. Hope I don't scare you away, because This is not something I do all the time, but you know, there was a time I worked in radio, so done a little bit of work on air. It's this kind of harkens back to those roots, and I kind of love it. So let's see how this is. Let's see if the problem with the Ender 3 is it's already so cheap, it's really hard to undercut it. And looking at these look, from what I can see, the price looks to be about the same price as the Ender 3, but it's a new, different deal. Now, one thing I really like on the U20 that the CR10 doesn't have, and they're very similar machines again, it's a similar build size, is that the U20's got that really nice touch screen, and you just literally plug in your micro SD card with the firmware on it, and it just updates. It is so simple. And I also just updated the Ender 3's firmware this weekend, and I can tell you it's a lot easier. So first of all, it comes out of the box is one of my great disappointments, something I hate. Why do they give you this little bit of PLA? Either don't give me PLA or give me enough to print something worthwhile. This will give me a few layers of something worthwhile. It's just a pet peeve of mine. I hate that. I'm sure that if you're brand new and you don't have anything, it's better than nothing, but you're not actually going to print anything. So here are the instructions. Pretty simple. It's basically 4 pages here. Well, maybe even actually 2 regular pages here. This first page is all the pieces and parts. And how many steps do we have? I know the Ender 3 is, 7 steps? This is 11 steps. Hey, and they do something that the Ender 3 should do. They have you put the display on last, which is, I think, a good thing to do. Power supply. It's US power supply. A lot of these that I get are not US power supplies because I've got plenty of these cords, and sometimes they can get me a European plug sooner. But this one actually is a US plug, so I'm actually pretty excited about that. I probably should figure out what I'm pulling out instead of just pulling it out willy-nilly. So this is the build plate, nice heavy-duty build plate there. Let's see here. Actually, it looks like I have to pull everything apart. Okay. Here's one of the extrusions. And the spool holder. Ooh, don't like how that's packaged in there. That is the display. Set that over here. And micro SD. Oops, I have to do it right side around. Micro SD and reader. I'm gonna guess this is part of the X carriage or the X axis. And another extrusion. Okay, now we're getting into the meat of this. So this, let's see how this is gonna all come out. So here's the hot end, it looks like. Yep. So this does have one thing that I just despise on the U20, and it's these hard cable holders. They're effective, but I've lost at least 2 prints on the U20 because those things are so stiff, they don't move around enough to get out of the way, and sometimes will slide in front of the what's it called? Sorry, I'm trying to get this out of the way. It's a light ribbon cable that, there we go. It'll sometimes slide in front of the heat bed while I'm printing, and that creates bad prints. Okay, so this is probably the other side. Yeah, this is the other side of the X-axis. Now, I will admit, I did something that I usually don't do. I didn't look at any other assembly videos before doing this. I'm really hoping, it's a lot like the Ender 3. Or, all the other variations of that build. CR10, the TiVo Tornado, anything like that. Here's all the little pieces and parts along with it. Holy cow. They do stuff a lot of stuff in here. Oh, they actually have a... My hand's really not that small. Holy cow. There's like a whole handful of stuff in there. And there's something here. The Z-axis motor. Okay. Z-axis motor. Now I think I got everything out of the box. I hope. Yep, looks like it. Oh, okay. So now, excuse me, we can get going. Building this thing now that all the stuff's unboxed. Step 1. Looks like we start with the base facing us. And yes, it's gonna be this. Uh-oh. This is another minor annoyance. See right here? I don't mind the power being back here. I prefer it on the side. But the I'll put it over here. You can see the USB. So the USB and the micro SD card are on the back. That makes it kind of a pain in the butt to get to. I'll probably have to, I've got a micro SD to SD converter. I'll probably install that. This ribbon cable is just kind of flopping out there. I'm not a big fan of that either. Let's see here. Let's free up that. Okay, so this is built a little different. I mean, the Ender 3 is very flat. It's maybe this tall, I think. I should do this. It's maybe about half this height. So I'm hoping that doesn't make it too wobbly, but it seems like it's put together pretty strongly. This is so Valendar's asking if this is parts, do-it-yourself parts, or mostly put together like Creality. This is mostly put together. There's more steps than the Ender 3 had, but not a lot more steps. The Ender 3 had like 7 steps, and I think they may have combined some of them compared to this. These steps look a lot simpler, just, like one, the first step's going to be putting the 2 uprights on. That's it. So I think it's going to be a little simpler. The hot end's already built, which that's always a big fun one. I can remember building the X-axis together, or putting it together on the Ender 3. Whoops. That wasn't good, as I dropped the whole shebang on the floor. Okay. One thing I don't remember is I don't remember if the Ender 3 had the Z screw like that or not, if it came pre-built. Yeah, definitely the CR10 assembly is a little easier. Not a ton. I would say probably of all my printers, the simplest one that wasn't the Photon, because that's basically you put this knob on the front door. Probably the simplest was the JG Aurora. It's literally, it comes flat packed, but it's literally the upright, bolts to the bottom, and you're done. There's 3 bolts that put the filament holder on the back, and then there's 3 cables you plug in, and boom, you're done with that thing. It's that simple to build. It is dead simple. So I'm really not going to complain about these. I don't find these that difficult to build. So the first thing here is what goes up. Let's see, I'm going to actually turn this down a little bit because I keep hearing myself out of the corner of my ear, and it's like, what? Okay. Oh, hell yeah, that's right. These have numbers, 14, 15. So it's the wide ones. Now, okay, so this is kind of interesting. Oh, there they are. So I was looking at this. There's 2 drilled holes. There you go. You can kind of see them there. There's these 2 drilled holes, but only on one. I wasn't sure where they go, but it looks like they go on the bottom by these instructions. They just aren't the easiest to understand. Now I need to find screw number 25. So I was kind of hoping by the instructions that they would tell you what it was. I guess you can tell by this shape. So these are M520s. They have them numbered here on the sheet, but then on the bag they're named what they are. So these are M520s, while the part number is 25. That is something I wish that the part number would be the same. Again, not a huge issue, just those little finishing touches to me that are really nice. I like to see, little thought going into some of that. I'm sure that there are engineers that have put a lot of thought to this. I'm just kind of curious why, they don't have some other people put them together and just have them give some ideas like that. Or one of the issues I know you can kind of run into is you start, you test with people that know the product and they don't see the problems like external people would, or even people that have never done this before and have no idea what they're doing, to help them out even further. So here's something I like. I like it when they come with these with little ball heads at the end. It makes using these a lot easier, and it's kind of nice to be able to use the tools they send you instead of having to have me dig through all my tools to put one of these together. That being said, my tools are right there, so it's not like it would be that difficult for me. I just like to try to build these with what they send. Just make sure it all goes together right. Everything's there. Okay. So Valentine, are you working on any minis tonight? Just hanging out. So I know you've got that Kickstarter coming up. Oh, game night. Fun. My game nights we get together every other Saturday. Been doing that since 2nd edition D&D, actually, or most of the group. We've had people come and go over the years, but most of the group started playing with 2nd ed. A boatload to paint, huh? That's one thing I never do. I never get around to painting, it seems. I really should. I have a ton, I think, and I know my daughter would enjoy painting with me. She's 14. She's got some Super Dungeon Explorer. Oh, that's nice. 2 nights. Used to game 2 nights. I remember back when I was much, much younger, we used to have a Tuesday night game, if I recall correctly. And used to play until, probably 1 o'clock in the morning, midnight, 1, sometimes 2 in the morning. And on Wednesday mornings, I had to be to work by 6, and I was the GM. Those were fun days. Very, very fun. Actually, I think that original table, originally we started, come to think of it, with Dragonlance Saga Edition, which is kind of one of TSR's oddball systems, one I've always liked. And I think it's one of the reasons why I really like Through the Breach by Weird Miniatures. It all uses cards. Kind of cool. Yeah, having them painted is going to look really good. So this Kickstarter I was showing off a little bit earlier, I know he's trying to print a bunch because he's going to send some to painters to have them painted right. He's printing all the pieces just to make sure they all print right. He's doing a really good job. It's going to look good. I think having fully painted, all the pieces and parts painted in the Kickstarter really helps. Okay, so step 2 is really enigmatic to me. Actually, that being said, so is step 1. They're showing some close-ups that don't entirely make sense. Oh, so one thing to do when you're first looking at these, make sure your voltage is set right. Mine is set to 115, which is what I need for US. Wow, you've been painting since 1984 to 85. I think I started painting sometime probably in the late 80s, very late 80s, very early 90s. I don't think I really painted much in my teens, so probably early 90s is probably when I started painting some. And I've kind of painted off and on throughout the years, but not that much. I kind of suck at it. I know that I would do better if I actually did it, but yeah, I don't do it that often. I have a few miniatures that are painted. The problem is I've got some friends that are really good painters, and I can a lot of times ask them and they'll paint a cool miniature up for me, and then I'm scot-free. Let's see, so... Okay, I think I see. So one of these bars has a bunch of stuff drilled in it, and that's going to be number 16, I'm thinking. Yeah, that's 16. So I need 16, and then I'm going to need bolt 26. So it's kind of long, narrow. So it's got to be the M4 16. I have no idea how many of these I'm going to need. I wish they'd show you how many you need. And then I'm going to need the part that I dropped, which that was brilliant. So the extruder is very similar to the one on the U20. It's got a sensor built in, a runout sensor, and it's built right onto the arm. It's actually a pretty strong spring built into that. I'm actually pretty impressed by that. Okay. So now, excuse me. How does this go together? I always hate this first step because it's always like trying to figure out how all these pieces of parts go together. Oh, I get it. I see now. So this is going to go like that to cover that. Okay. Truthfully, their instructions could be better. So this is drilled out a little bit on this side. It's got two others here. You know what? I really can't turn that light that much. So this goes over this bolt right here. So I'm just going to make sure things are tight before I cover up all the pieces and parts. It's always good on these Chinese pieces just to make sure they're tight. Oh, that's broke free. That's pretty tight. I'm going to call it good. There we go. Yeah. Everything feels tight enough. I think we're good there. So this is going to go, this covers the nut or the bolt, and there'll be two pieces going through. Looks like they come in from the back. So I guess I'm going to need 4 of these. I have actually seen your Grendel painted. He looks dang good. Yeah, I'm actually really looking forward to that Kickstarter. So do you know when your Kickstarter is probably going to launch? I know that today I posted 3 brand new Kickstarters. 1 started yesterday, and 2 started this morning. 1 that started yesterday I didn't realize had started. I'd heard somebody talk about it a little bit. It's, trees. This actually looks kind of cool, but the other 2 I knew were coming. So here's another thing for you. Check see what hex size you have before doing this. All that fun stuff of figuring out what exactly is needed. And I know that I've never actually run a Kickstarter. I've talked with a lot of people that have, and I've given some advice to certain people. My day job is doing a little bit of light web development and a lot of search engine optimization, a lot of that kind of stuff. So I give advice along those lines more often. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I hear people contend with Kickstarter that I just I'm kind of blown away about all the little pieces. But I guess there is just a lot of little things that you're going to have to deal with. If you're dealing with other people's money and sending stuff through their system, and then getting money sent to you, and are you legitimate and all that, that does make a lot of sense that they'd have you jump through all those hoops. It's just things that if you've never done it, it's just kind of like, whoa, what is with all this stuff? So just getting the x-axis put together now, the x carriage, or not the x carriage, but the what's it called? The z carriage, actually. I believe is what these are called. These are going over here. So make sure everything looks right. I think it does. Yay! Look at that. Isn't that beautiful? That's a thing of beauty. Okay, so I've now completed 2 steps in the last 30 minutes. Holy cow, this is taking longer than I thought it would. Let's see here. Now we need to put the hot end on. This is where things start getting a little more tricky. So let's see, this is going to go up. And this should go like so. There we go. So one thing with these, you're going to notice, is it's got this fan. A lot of them use a blower here. These use just a normal fan. And it's 3D printed, and even has some of the support left on. On the shroud. These are loud. These are really loud. But man, I've never had a printer stock print or be able to bridge at least so nicely as that U20. So it's a trade-off. It's loud, very loud, but man, it prints nice. So I think I'm going to be a little forgiving on that one this time. So this is telling me to adjust the tension. I think I'm going to wait. I generally like to do all the eccentric nuts at the end, just to make sure that everything's put together. Hopefully things aren't hidden and painful to get to. I'll probably do everything except the base plate before I do that. It's easy enough to do without that. So now, there it is. There's this little doohickey thingamajigger. And this is going to go on the back side like the rest. You want this in. Okay, that looks right. So I'm just putting this piece here. Looks kind of like a Y. The roller, the point of the Y goes inwards. This bolt on the back side of it is going to go into the drilled out hole. Sorry, I just want to make sure. Yeah, I want to make sure I mounted the X block correctly, and I did. I think I'm pretty sure. Kind of get to a point where you start second guessing yourself. That's always lots of fun to do. Okay, so get that just snug, and then I'll cinch this side up. So Valandar, if you want, you can try to put a picture, if you want, of any of your miniatures. I don't know that I have it turned off. I don't know that I don't. So if anybody else is watching or anybody else comes to this later, they could see what we're talking about, since I've actually been on your feed and seen these. And if you go to the makerfun3d.com website, if you do a search on the page for Patreon, his Patreon's on there. He does some beautiful miniature work. One day I'm going to try to learn Blender and try to make a couple of my own pieces, but that still's a ways away for me right now. So now we have the belt tightener here. And this looks like it uses 26s as well. So there's two pieces here. This is going to be the piece that goes on the end of the belt to tension it. You can see that it's got two little slots that'll be used to tension it. Okay. So it doesn't actually tell me to put the belt on first, so hoping this is right. I'm guessing the belt will fit in, have some piece that fits in on the hot end there, the X carriage. Actually, I don't want to tighten these up too much because you need tension to belt. So now we're done with step 4. Just give me a second here. Let's see if I could make Valandar a let's see. A moderator. So hopefully that does it. So I have no idea who the other people are in the channel. You guys can feel free to say hi. Oh, there we go. So yeah, he was modded. So there we go. Valandar should be able to post some links. He's, like I said, he's got some pretty awesome looking miniatures. And now he's mod, so he'll be able to get in there and do that. Okay, so step 5. Now we do put that belt on. Let's see, Y is already on, so this is going to be the X belt. Whoops. Well, that's a bummer. I've got a twist in the line. Actually, it will be easier to pull it out of this end. There we go. Wrap it around. Come through the bottom. There we go. Okay. So I'm thinking, and this is just conjecture quite honestly at this point, I'm thinking that I have to use zip ties and wrap it around the, actually I'm going to loosen these up so they go all the way back. There we go. So, sorry, what I think I'm going to have to do is twist these around and make hooks and use, use these zip ties on them. I'll admit I do feel a little, this is how I had to do some of my earlier 3D printers, but I admit that I feel a little spoiled because it seems like I haven't had to do this in a very, very long time. That they've got other little doohickeys on these to make it a little cleaner than having to put a zip tie on it. Okay. So crank that down. Snip it off. And hopefully I left enough. There we go. Yeah, I did. Okay. So I'm going to pull that somewhat taut. Slide off the wheel. I really do hate. Hey, welcome back. Okay, I do hate stupid notifications in Windows 10. It's kind of not my favorite thing. Okay, so come here. I'm gonna put a zip tie on this one at about here. No, need a little more room. So I made you mod over there, so you shouldn't have any problem posting pictures you want to post. Talk about some of your stuff for your Kickstarter and what you're doing on Patreon. And so Valandar has a live channel too that he does a lot on. Very interesting to watch him work his magic. Okay. I just want to make sure that's not going to go. No, that's going to go in. So we'll trim this. I like to have extra room on the belt just in case, but that's going to go into the deal. So there we go. Okay, that'll reach the end just fine. Now let's tension it. Oh, it just fell. Oh, power plug. I can get that later. So now stick my finger on there to push it out. There we go. That feels pretty good. I'm just going to test, make sure it's got full movement. That's the end stop. Yep, I'm happy with that. So that is step 5 done. Moving right along, almost half done. Step 6. I think it's just putting this on by the looks of it. Which I've already done one side. Oops. Oh. There we go. Felt nice and smooth going down there. So it says, adjusting the distance by adjusting the left and right side hexagonal sleeve. I honestly do. I think that's actually eccentric nuts. The x-axis beam is smoothly assembled into gantry. But it looks like they're showing me the eccentrics. So I believe that is what I'm looking at there. So now we've passed the halfway mark. Now, number 17, which is, I'm guessing, this last piece of extrusion, goes on the top. Lock it all down. And that uses part number 25, which, mystery part 25 is, I believe, the M520s. Come on, there we go. Oh, actually, pour those out because it's going to take all 4 of these. Hey, these already come with end caps on them. That's kind of nice. So let's have a look here. Oops, wrong one. Oh, so key thing here. This is for the nut heads to go in. I was trying to do it backwards. Thankfully, that didn't work. Or the bolt head, I guess, to go in. It's always those little things. Sorry, I was just thinking, I've got a buddy that actually just got his Ender 3 tonight, so I want to see how his assembly went. I work with his wife at Idaho Public Television and was she's telling me they were thinking about getting one, so sent them some information. Told them out of all of them, the Ender 3 is probably still my go-to, which is also one of the reasons why I'm curious how this is going to compete with the Ender 3. Because the U20 actually has become one of my go-tos as well. The main reason why the Ender 3 is my biggest go-to, I'm just making sure it's straight. The reason why the Ender 3 is my biggest go-to, probably, is because I've got Raspberry Pi set up on it. And since I live in a 2-story house, I'm able to send my files to print to it and watch them and make sure it starts printing well. And once it is, then I can quit worrying about it and just check back periodically. I use TeamViewer, so I'm able to get in from outside the network if I'm out dinking around. And then all my printers, well, the ones on the Pi I can use the Raspberry Pi to shut down, but all my other printers, including that one, are also on Wi-Fi enabled power plugs, so I'm able to shut them down remotely. So the price of this, I think they sent me a coupon, and I think it's down to $279 for this thing on GearBest. So the Alfawise printers are GearBest house brand, so you can only get them at GearBest. But, you know, this is going together pretty good. There's a few burrs on where they drilled things out. In a much earlier life, I used to be a machinist. I worked for my father. My dad would have kicked my butt if I left those kinds of burrs on the work I did. But for an inexpensive printer, you know, I'm not going to complain too much. We were paid a lot more to do that. Yeah, as long as it's not G-Tech. One of the first printers I tested, excuse me, was a G-Tech E180. I fought that and fought that and fought that. I finally updated the BIOS. The one good experience on that was uploading the BIOS on the G-Tech was easy. Had an app on your phone, you'd send it over. It was awesome. And then I fired up the machine afterwards, and then it just crashed the head, just completely into the bed. It was miserable. I finally ended up giving it to a buddy at work who's been wanting a 3D printer and couldn't quite afford one. He's an engineer. He's a broadcast engineer. So he was able to get it all up and working. He still wants to get something better because it still has issues, but it works mostly, you know. Oh, wow. So your first was a G-Tech too, huh? Or well, I guess my first wasn't a G-Tech, but yeah, it's just I don't know why they don't do a better job on those. So I'm looking for a piece that I don't know if I dropped. I'm not really totally sure what I'm looking for. There's this number 2, and I think it has to do with the lead screw. I'm just trying to figure this out. It shows just kind of this big black thing with two screws on the side. I wonder if it's this end stop. The problem is that's not what it looks like. Oh yeah, I remember you talking about the fidget spinner lines. You know, that was a wonderful time while it lasted. I think I mostly paid off my original 3D printer with fidget spinners that my daughter sold at her school. Never even planned on that. Just made some fidget spinners, gave a few to her because she wanted them really bad, and all of a sudden a bunch of school kids that went to school with her wanted some, and then I started making custom ones specifically for them, with things that they were interested in. Holy cow, did that ever work well. Oh, you know, sorry, just trying to see how this all goes. I guess I really don't want that right that far on the bed, do I? There we go. Oops. Okay. So I think these are the M416s again. Yeah, the only reason why I would say that I've paid off my printers several times over as well, but I think the only reason I can say that is because of my website and the uses that I've gotten for for advertising and affiliate deals to keep the website running and keep me in filament so that I can make more articles. I think it's paid for itself over time with all the printers, but it's not like I mint money with it. When I was doing the fidget spinners, I wasn't really minting money either, but on a day-to-day basis, I think I made a lot more money than what I do it all with affiliate sales or with anything like that. I don't really do stuff for other people that much. I've got one friend that I've done some parts, and actually that reminds me, I probably should email him. I haven't heard from him in a while. He's making some parts, some upgrade parts for guns, and he just needs the 3D printed parts to check for fitting, make sure everything fits right. There's a company in town that will do it, but it's pretty much ungodly expensive because, you know, they've got high-end printers where I have the home printers, which for his work are a lot more economical. And it's always nice to help out friends. There we go. Probably turn that easier if my fingers weren't covered in gunk now. Grease. Okay, so I've got these pieces. The only thing I can think of that this is showing me, possibly, is this end stop. Because I don't see any other place where it tells me to install an end stop, but number two, if they explain what these things are a little bit, that would help. The only thing I can think of is this. But man, it does not look. So this is what I'm looking at. This is what's kind of throwing me. So you see that big black square right there? So I get the light a little bit. That's what I'm trying to find, because I think I've got the other parts. I believe this is the piece, and I'm not really sure how it shows those two openings on the side. Oh, it's also saying, I didn't see that, to tighten these bolts on either side of the Z-screw. I believe that's a Z-screw nut. There we go. They're just slightly loose. So on the Ender 3, it basically mounts there, but I wonder if it, this isn't going to be able to go down much further. That wouldn't work at all. That could conceivably work. Huh. I'm just trying to figure this piece out. Step 9 is putting the filament reel on top, then building the bed. Oh, there's actually 12 steps. I missed that. And then number 11 is putting the display on, and 12 is just actually wiring everything. 6. So the Z limit switch is shown to be on here somewhere. I almost wonder if it goes here. Actually, give me a second. I'm going to look at the U20 really quick. I'm not entirely sure what this needs. Sorry, gotta take the mic off for a second. So that was extremely inconclusive. That's not good. Have a good night, Valandar. Thanks for stopping by. Always nice to be able to talk with somebody while doing this. So I'm just trying to see if I'm missing any pieces or parts. I'm not seeing anything. I'm really not a big fan with how this looks like it mounts. And seriously, when you look at this, it's that picture right there. It is so tiny. You know, it's a little bit bigger than my thumb. It's really that small. And it's very, very, very busy in there. Well, I'm pretty sure this is how it goes. Even if I'm not happy with it, it still is how it goes. Okay. I'm gonna have to adjust that once I get the base plate on. So let's see here. Now let's make sure everything is taut. Check the eccentrics. Oh. Go. Actually, I pretty much like that. Yeah, I think this might be the best printer I've ever had shipped to me with the eccentrics done right. I want to kind of play with those, but I really don't think I need to. I think it's just a habit that I always do. So one thing they did to cheapen this was really shrink this carriage here. You can see that they're very close together, the rollers. I wish it was further apart just for more stability. But you can see you can move it around. It's not moving. These aren't moving. They're pretty darn solid, so I'm actually pretty happy with that. All things being what they are. So now I get to mount. Yeah, it's a little bit bigger. Get pretty close to being done here. Look at that, the filament spool holder has racing chevrons to make it go faster, or, you know, something. Okay, so just saw that, 9, 10. Now onto the bed. Feels like a nice sturdy bed. Let's see how it is. So one thing with the U20, or one major problem I had, was the bed was really warped. Oh my God, it was horribly warped. I luckily had a piece of Ultra Base laying around, so I put that on it. Holy crap, that Ultra Base on the U20 is a beautiful, beautiful thing. Okay, let's go back. And I'm actually really sad about it because the material that they put on these, I actually really like. It's when I first got it, it wasn't very warped, or it wasn't warped at all as far as I could tell. And that's why I started printing on. Oh my God, it was beautiful to print on. This, whatever the material they put on these is, I really like it. Unfortunately, it's something, so the back is glass. So I don't know what they put on this exactly, but it's really nice. It's like really nice stuff. Okay, so now all the assembly. I do like, it seems like they put a lot of the assembly pieces all in one bag. So this should be all for the bed, it looks like. We've got the 2 leveling knobs, or the 4 leveling knobs, the 4 springs, and these are the nice springs. I actually bought a bunch of these from somewhere to put on my Ender 3. So I've literally upgraded my Ender 3 to what this printer comes with natively. So I think that's actually a pretty good sign, because I consider the Alfawise as kind of a bargain basement printer. But I have to admit, even though that's kind of what I consider it, it usually has a lot of refinements that make it work pretty nice, or at least, and that's basing it off of my experience with the U20. It's got some refinements to it that you wouldn't really expect to find in a low-cost knockoff on a of a low-cost knockoff, type of situation. So it's obvious that whoever is working on this Gear Best side, they're really paying attention to the issues that people have with other printers and are using their platform to rectify them. I have to respect them a lot for that. Always happy to see that. Oh, you know what? Since I'm here, total non sequitur, I'm going to check the grub screws. I've had some fun experiences with grub screws being loose lately. I think they're kind of the bane of my existence, so. Okay, well, that looks good. It's like, what was I doing? Problem with changing gears mid-flight is what I just did. Okay. Is that one last piece? What is this? No idea where that goes. It probably actually goes down there, but we'll see in a second. Okay, so the bed is on, and that leaves us, oh, 2 more steps, I guess. We're on the back page, yay! One piece is mounting the display. Oh, that's why this is off. So it looks like the display goes here. I like this. So on the U20, the display lays flat on the top of the box. Not a fan of that at all. Not in the least. Luckily with my setup, it's not a deal breaker. The box, when I'm standing in front of it, is about down here, so I can easily access it. But I'm really not a huge fan of that setup. I wish that it was on an angle like this. It would be much easier, actually. So it labels where things go. It doesn't tell you how they expect you to route them. This is a really long cable. And I know that trying to mount this would be difficult if I don't do it now. Huh. This is a different way of mount. I've never seen it mounted quite like this. So don't do what I just did and mount it all cockeyed. There we go. Mount it straight in. Okay, I'm going to mount this on the outside. I hope this goes okay. There we go. One's partially in there. One more. And I'll have all the pieces and parts together. Just need to get all wired up. So this isn't clean. I don't like that. I don't like this cable hanging out. I'm going to have to figure out something to do with that. Not entirely sure what just yet. So this has little flags to tell me where they go. So that's kind of nice. Otherwise, I'd have really no clue where these things went. So these are both Z. The first two things I grabbed. Oh, this is the. There we go. That's what that is. I wasn't really paying a lot of attention when I was using that. So here's the X limit switch, which is all up in there. Oh, hold on. Oh man, did I do this? I think I did this backwards. Crap. Oh man. Okay. So what I just realized, this cable wrap should go in the back. So that means this top piece needs to come off. Because of how I built it. That also means that the filament holder needs to scoot over just a little bit. I think it'll permanently scoot over just a little bit. I like having it as far out as possible so the filament can go out. It's actually a major complaint I have with the Ender 3 is the filament coming out and making an immediate right-hand turn going right back into the extruder. I'm hoping that the little mechanism for putting the whatever the stuff's called, the filament, having it come out and then in, I'm hoping that works okay for this too, because that would make life a lot easier if that's how it worked. Okay. You know what, let's not mess with this right now. Let's just move this down. Oh, the whole shebang's gonna have to come off. At least 3. I can't believe that I did that. Okay. All that work just for that. I'm going off the assumption that this is all square, as long as everything's tight, no wiggle, that the printer itself is all nice and square. So as long as I don't have to take that off again, I can move this out. It'll be interesting to see what, if any, Ender 3 parts that you can print will fit on this. Truthfully, the only printed part on mine is the fan shroud to keep the fan from being sorry, just felt something drop. The fan shroud to keep the like failed prints and strings and stuff from falling inside the fan. The nice thing about I always use big clips, and I probably should use these smaller ones. They seem to fit a little bit better. Okay. Oh. Back to what I was doing when I realized I had failed miserably there. Okay, this is the extruder. It would be E. And X motor. And this is the X stop, which is here somewhere. Sorry, just trying to figure out how to route this best. This guard's a little smaller than the one in the Ender 3, making that a lot easier to get to. And this is, oh, I was going to say the extruder in stop. Oh yeah, the extruder out functionality. There's really not a lot of gap there between the rod and where the stuff goes in, where the filament goes in. Not a huge fan of that either, but it is what it is. It's pretty common nowadays. Let's see. Y. Excuse me. Oh, the Y was already installed, wasn't it? Because I didn't plug those in. So now for the moment of truth. Let's see how it works. Actually, that is a small cable. That's the other thing. I really do hate short cables. Short power cables. I've got a couple 6-footers of these. They're so nice. You can move them all around. Okay. I was worried about that. So this is on a smart socket. This will actually tell me what, this is an insight. There we go. So it'll actually tell me how much current I'm drawing. So that's not horrible sounding there. That's actually doable. Let's see if I can move the head down just a little bit. Oh, whoops, that's Y. See, this is what I need to check. So there's a good, oh God, 1/4-inch gap there. So yes. First I need to find the right hex screw, or hex wrench. So first I'm going to pull these down. I want these under under fairly significant pressure. At least halfway down, if not maybe a little further. These are prime candidates to get new wheels. Just bigger ones printed. Nothing too fancy. So let's go down a little further. Let's take that down a little further yet again. actually. I'll call that good. Yeah. So let me find a piece of paper around here. It's an old project my daughter was working on. Junk piece of paper makes for really nice leveling, I've found. Sorry, just getting this plug back on, or stuck back on, so it's falling on my feet. So, actually, while I'm playing with that, let's do preheating. Let's do the bed up to 60 degrees. Oops. Oh, this actually will do auto bed leveling for me. Or at least go to locations. So let's see how this works. Hi, that's pretty close. Not used to that. Usually I'm a lot further off than that. Okay, let's see how it looks back in the first corner I tried. Give me 1 second here. Hello, there we go. Daughter's gone to bed, so just wishing her good night. Hello, there we go. Okay, one thing I'm liking about with how high this is I can get my hand at least to this there one. We go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on the way to the other one. I at least gets to that one. I can get my hand at least. Hello, there we go. Can't get it. There's a power supply on ever so slight bow in this printer, but I think that's good enough. There we go. There's a ever so slight bow in this printer, but I think that's good enough. There we go. There's a ever so slight bow in this printer, at least. There we go. So I do find it kind of a pain in the butt to load filament. So I do find it kind of a pain in the butt trying a new filament. I've never tried before, the 3D Hero. Pretty good about it. I got it kind of deal. It's a clear, transparent. I've never printed with a full transparent filament before. I've printed with Hatchbox Smoke before, which is kind of a gray clear filament. It's actually pretty cool stuff. At least this top layer does not give me a lot of but one nice thing, so I've been using Geico or Detail or something like that for a while now. Did a review on it several months ago. I really liked it, but my last few rolls have been pretty horrible too, where the rolls are all the filament is very, very brittle. I've never seen I've never seen pieces. Oh, there it goes. It's not the whole thing. It's just pieces are brittle. And I've never had a filament that would just sit here like this, and it just breaks for no reason, as far as I could tell. That would just sit here like this, and it just breaks for no reason, as far as I could tell. Let's see if it'll. Okay. So I really wasn't paying attention to how fast it heated up. I assumed that it was fairly quick. The bad that is. I didn't really notice it. Grab a micro SD card here. I really don't trust the ones that come with these printers. I've had way too many bad experiences. Straight up into 3, I hope. Settings, SD card. Straight up If either of these work. Hopefully they do. That is horrible. Horrible placement. That's bad. That is horrible. Heated here. black even out. Okay. So let's see. Files. Got that friend of mine is getting into serious set up tonight. So I'm going to print him a fan shroud. Just keep stuff on his printer. So my router is set to 210. I'm going to drop that to 205, I think. So this is based on just industry profile. I have no idea how it's going to work or anything. I did not actually slice this G code for this printer. Basically what I'm saying. I did not actually slice this G code for this printer. Basically what I'm saying. I got a little concerned there. I thought it might be going off the edge, but it stayed on. A little off center. But I believe, I hope, this is the brim. I'm actually pretty darn happy with that brim. Let's bring out the other webcam and show this off. Recognize it for some weird reason. There we go. Aha. So there we go. Aha. I can set this on here. Kind of see it going here. There we go. Aha. I can set this on here. Kind of see it going here. A little rough there, isn't it? Wow, that's bright. I don't want to hold that because I think that'd be a pretty horrible experience for you guys. There you go. If I hold that on, you can kind of see it going. Just laying down a pretty clean first layer as far as I can tell. That's an experiment. You want to focus that close. One things I want to play with is I have some wise cameras. Let's try those out. See how they work. Okay, that's not working. I tried. There we go. Did maybe help a little? Not much. Okay. Yeah, that first layer putting down looks pretty darn nice. If I do say so myself. Actually, I don't know if you can shift that. Not any way to really show it off. Well, you can see how reflective that is, whereas the rest of it's matte, the bed, and that is reflective because it's such a pretty layer. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of what it looks like. And that is reflective because it's such a pretty layer. So I think that kind of gives you an idea. I've got that up, let me show you something else too. Got two of these printed out so far. This is just. I've got that up. This is a Citadel, Savage Realm Citadel. This is the very first, the bottom layer for the wall. I've got the next two layers to go up above it over there, but I can't quite reach them from here. But yeah, that's another Kickstarter. That Kickstarter actually just started today, so that one starts today, and this one I believe is in a couple months. You'll see that available. So, hey, it's a cool Kickstarter. Hey, check this out. I'm going to move away from there so you can kind of get an idea, I think. What a nice first layer that is. That is a first layer level of beauty, in my opinion, right there. So yeah, good. I'm really happy with that starting point. So I think I'm going to call it there. I think we're done for the night. The printer's put together. It's printing. Usually I don't even get to this far. I generally just put them together and call it good, and then the next day I'll get printing on it. But this one I actually got printed. One of the reasons is I did want to get that shroud to my buddy. I'm hoping it should be finished. I know it won't take stuff like so it'll be finished by morning, so I can get it to my buddy.
But this one I actually got printed.
Some other parts. I don't know if you've ever looked at my industry after he died, but it has these springs in it. I'm going to give him a set of those because I only need one set.
But this one I actually got
need some
printed.
more later down the road, but they're cheap. And then I've got some other pieces and parts, pneumatic connectors. For some reason, Creality, they use the crappiest pneumatic connectors, and I don't know why. They're so cheap. But I've got a bunch. You buy them by the bag. So I've got a bag of them that I'll give him a couple out of. Yeah, so this here is the Alfawise U30. It is, as far as I can tell, it's a direct competitor to an industry. It's got the same bed size, same build volume. It's their version. I don't think I actually showed this touching, but this is the touch screen here. I love the touch screen interface. It is so far superior to Marlin. It's not even funny. This interface is so nice. If I want to adjust it, I hit that. I can adjust the extruder temperature, the bed temperature, the fan speed. I'm assuming this is the feed rate or the speed. I'm not even sure what the feed actually is. Here's the flow right here. I'm not even sure what that other speed is. Stop it, you can pause it. Shows you the fan speed, shows you the Z height, your temperatures, how long it's been. I just really like the firmware that Alfawise has developed for these printers. They're just awesome. It's just an awesome firmware. And quite honestly, I think there's enough refinements here that I think it's actually going to give my Ender 3 a run for its money. It's got a better bed. This bed surface is much better, but I have one of the original ones. It's kind of interesting. It was really wavy. The bed abode. I put a piece of glass on it and I checked it. I was going to show somebody how it looks when you have you take the shroud off and basically I use glass. You take the glass off and show in the bed, and then I put a straight edge on to show how bowed it was, and the bow had gone away. So I don't know if the aluminum actually can go back to flat, but if it can go back to flat, it means it can work again. So I'm not going to hold my breath if anything is solved there. But it is kind of nice. But the DI speed on there is not as nice as the surface. This is kind of kind of reminds me almost like an ultra base surface, and I really like it. This surface is one that it feels the same as the E20 or very similar. I just really like it. I just can't say enough good about it. I think the ultra base is better, but I've got two printers that have actual ultra base on them. One is the one extra piece that I had that I actually was going to put in my CR10S, but it's not working, so I ended up putting on the Alfawise U30, and it turns beautifully. And I've also got, down the road I want to put on, I've got this Namura bot or whatever. It's another and I've also got material that I've heard is real. It's a glass replacement. I've heard some really good about it from Greg in Florida, or Greg FL on YouTube. So that'll be something that I want to replace online. But I really do. I like testing. I like this. I despise this cable here that's sticking out that goes to this. I need to figure out a way to hide that. I don't know how it's going to be hidden. I despise having the micro SD card in the back. That is just really bad design. Like, it's horrible design in my opinion. But at least for me, I've got a micro SD to SD converter. I was going to put it on my E3 Gecko. I still need to get it repaired too. I destroyed a linear rail on it, so I need to get that replaced. Another option for my 4XY. But so I've got a micro SD to SD on there, and I think I'm going to move it to this for now. I don't have to figure out something like just replace one on there. It's just not working. That plan's not working right now. So I think some of the problems with this can be worked on. I don't like this material. I actually don't mind it here. I don't mind it up here because it stays away from the bed. And it's better on here than U20. U20 is kind of languishes behind that. That being said, I would like to replace this. I don't like this how stiff it is. Though again, this is a smaller bed than the U20. So just watching it now, it doesn't look like it's as big of a deal as it is on the U20. Let's see, what else is there? Some of the stuff I don't like this V-stop. I'm still not 100% convinced I did it right, but in looking at the instructions and all the parts, I don't see any other way I could have done it. I really don't. I don't think there's another way that it could have been done. So I think it's done right. I just don't like that. I wish it was a little solid, a little bit bigger, maybe metal like the U20 uses. I just think that mount could have been a little better. This does not have mounts on the side, on either side here, to help strengthen this joint. That's something I do like to see. I don't know if the industry has it, but it's something I'm used to seeing on at least in some of my bigger printers. Test 3 is going through here, so I don't know how well that would work. And I think those are usually on ones too. They're using more T-nuts to hold things together, because those can only do so much. But I do like having extra reinforcement there. I really do. I think that is the upright. Everything is hanging off of it. I'm actually kind of liking this height. I didn't think I would. There's some clearance under the power supply here. And it's kind of a pain to get to the leveling screws, but honestly, this one, there's enough clearance under here. It's actually pretty easy to get to. So I'm kind of being won over to that side of things. Something else I'm noticing, different than the U20, is this fan is a lot quieter. I don't know if they're using a smaller fan or what, but it's actually quite a bit quieter than my U20. Just wonder if I've got a bad fan on the U20 too. I'll have to check that out. I'm watching the rollers, they're all moving at once. I like that. And that came like that out of the factory. I think it's definitely well designed. I would like to replace this extruder assembly. I put a metal one on the Industry. What did I say? Excuse me, 2 weeks ago now. So yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with that. I'm actually really happy with that. I think I'd like to replace it on here. We'll have to see if it'll but the biggest issue that I can see is that it's kind of got the filament runout sensor integrated. It's actually kind of nice, I'll tell you that. On the Creality, on the Alpha, Anycubic Huron, the filament runout sensor actually is about here, so and it's on an angle going back, so the filament comes in, and it kind of has to make a turn after it goes through that little thing into here. I really am not a fan of that. I kind of like the filament runout sensor being here. I'm guessing, this is just a conjecture, I'm guessing the one on the Huron is probably a little more robust, though. It has more heft to it. And pretty much everything on the Huron feels very solid. It's probably the best built printer that I own, except maybe the E3D. Yeah, maybe the E3D could give it a run close to mine. So yeah, there are some little things in this that I think I could see upgrading or fixing. But while I despise this material on my U20, it actually on this U30, because it's so much shorter, there's so much less room here, it's actually not a problem. On the U20, because it's so much wider, it tends to fall down a little bit. I actually want to get like a bungee or something to hold it up to the top here. And right now, I don't know that that's needed. That might, maybe at one point want to do that. I don't know. It just doesn't look like it's needed on the U20. So that's actually pretty cool. Yeah, like I said, it's solid. The belt, the Y belt came pretty solid. Using zip ties to hold the belt on the X-axis about the little ghetto compared to some of the newer printers. That's a refinement that I think newer printers have that's better. I'm kind of surprised they don't have it. I'm going to go back to the old zip tie method. Yeah, that's the preview. It's not a review at all by any means. It's just a preview of this printer. But thus far, I'm very impressed. It looks, the first layers look beautiful. They really do. I'm very, very happy now. I've got some support going on in that center hole there. But yeah, it looks, to me, it looks pretty darn good. It's nice and flat, it's clean. It's clear, so it's a little different. I'm actually seeing the black underneath it. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I'm actually pretty happy with it. So again, I want to thank GearBest for sending this to me. Without their support, I would not be able to do all these reviews. And the reason they send me reviews is because people enjoy the reviews. They come in, they'll use my associate link or affiliate links I mean, to buy through them. That really, really does help me. I make some money. I don't make a ton of money off of it. Truthfully, with GearBest, if I can sell more, they send me more products. One of the things I really want to try in this coming year is I want to expand outside of just role-playing, miniatures, and board games to also add drones, quads to my site. There's a lot of airframes you can print that are race airframes. I'll have to learn how to print PPU, which is going to be something brand new for me. Looking at some of this stuff, I was looking at what was called PPU-X. It had carbon fiber in it. I'll have to get probably like an Swiss hot end, all metal hot end, and have to probably get a better or a flexible extruder on one of my printers. Have to retool one of my printers to be able to print those parts well. Probably give me an excuse to get the CRT up and running. Honestly, that's probably what I would convert over. Well, maybe I forgot. It's got a really horrifyingly slow heated bed. We'll have to see what I'll convert over to do that. But it's something I really like to do, and it helps to get affiliates to there. So I appreciate everybody that does click the links. You don't have to. I just really appreciate it. I like to think these things are non-biased. I have owned 15 printers now. By far, most of them have come from other companies. E3D sent think I'm to the point now that I've got enough printers that I'm a little jaded in this. It's not, ooh, I got a free printer and let me give you a good review on it. It's more, hey, this is another printer. I've got all these others to compare it against. This is my view on this 3D printer based on my previous experiences, which are not insignificant in this realm, in the what I call the cheap or the inexpensive desktop printer, consumer type printer. So I try to give you guys unbiased reviews. I try to give you unbiased previews. I try to talk about these in fairly neutral. I personally want the best printer for my buck, and I pretty much assume everybody else does as well. So I also like to save money, and I'm a cheapskate. I'll admit it. I like to spend money, but I am a cheapskate. So I like to try to find the best bang for your buck. If you look at my website, I have the deals page, and that's where the genesis of that started. I tend to look for deals regularly. I know shortcuts, and that's how I started that. So I try to, like I said, I try to be unbiased. These are for you guys. These are not, these are not, just for the companies. I do these for you guys. I've done reviews and worked on websites for most of my adult life, and I really do try to be consumer focused. I don't know everything, obviously. I try to, I come at it from a more neophyte view. I've only been 3D printing for about 2 years now, but pretty much whenever I get into a new hobby, I jump feet first and go wherever I have because I really value 3D printing. So I like to think I'm at least fairly knowledgeable. So yeah, that's it, I guess. That's all my disclaimer on all the affiliate crap. Again, they don't pay me to give them a good review. They send the printer, and that's it. I don't have to pay for it, which is nice. It probably colors my opinion a little bit. I'll freely admit that. I don't think it does much. You guys are the reason why I do this, and there's the only way I'm going to get any response, anybody checking out my channels, if I'm true, and if I don't try to screw you guys around. So again, I'm Kevin Ray. My website is makerfun3d.com, and this is the Alfawise U30, continued from